And I believe it's also carrying that sunny day as well. So actually, you can have a really nice matchup into all those rain teams that are going around as well. You just click that button, and then you shut down a lot of the strategies that your opponent can even do.
Yeah, exactly that. And as we mentioned, both of our trainers ran into each other quite a few times before. At the moment, it seems like Izhaq has the lead. 7 wins overall, best of 3s versus Magnus. So Magnus has really gone here to try to prove a point with such a fascinating team as well.
Yeah, really interesting too. We don't see a lot of the so-called Psy spam, where you've got this Psychic Surge and DD combined with the Sneasel with that Unburdened ability, which we often see now next to a Rillaboom with a Grassy Seed, but here it's with that Psychic Seed. Yep. Now this dude was very popular in the kind of the first iteration of Regulation Set H last year, but it kind of fell out by the wayside. But it's definitely back here, and it makes a lot of sense when you want to give a special defense boost to a Sneasler in front of Ursaluna, which has been shining so bright throughout this entire weekend.
Yeah, exactly. 3rd in usage, at least when it comes to the Masters division of the competition. And like we said, there's a lot of great tools to be able to take advantage of. And that Dragonite actually having the Stomping Tantrum as opposed to either a Tailwind or an Extreme Speed, which usually Dragonites do tend to try to run, but not when it comes to you having your own Psych Terrain spam mode.
And here is Izhaq Hoggui on your screen as well, with their really cool team using that Murkrow to be able to support the rest of the team with the Tailwind, the Sunny Day, and the Haze to kind of get rid of any sort of pesky setup strategies like Volcarona strategies, for instance, too. And could be really interesting here as well versus that Sneasler that could get up that Psychic Seed special defense boost too, or any of those boosts that Dragonite might want to get with that Scale Shot.
Yeah, and it's also a great way to be able to essentially be immune to that Psy spam and force a, I'd say, targeting when it comes to the Murkrow, because sure, it's there for support and utility, but Foul Play, you know, the same type attack bonus can actually pack a punch when it comes to more of the offensive tools over on Magnus' side.
Yeah, it's a great point, especially after the defense drop from a Scale Shot. Dragonite's suddenly going to take a lot of damage from that too. And Talonflame, not the bulkiest Pokemon either, doesn't also want to take that Foul Play. What I really like here as well is Izhaq has that Miracle Seed on the Rillaboom too, boosting that damage a little bit more rather than something like the Assault Vest, and that can suddenly put an Ursaluna, for instance, in range of a Woodhammer.
Oh, as we're gonna start off game 1 with the lead between both of our trainers. Magnus on the left-hand side, rocking the Talonflame Dragonite versus Izhaq's Ursaluna Blood Moon and the Mousehold.
Okay, so we've got a lot of supportive options and we've got a lot of offensive options as well. So the Mousehold is a really nice lead here because you've got that Focus Sash, you've got the ability to use that Follow Me, and Follow Me does have increased priority on top of the Gale Wings boosted moves that Talonflame can go for too. Yeah. So that's going to keep that Ursaluna really safe here, and there's not a lot threatening it on this turn from either of the targets either. So Izhaq's probably in a really decent position to start firing off moves with that Ursaluna. It's that Assault Vest, so it might not be getting any KOs, maybe unless it's a Blood Moon into the Talonflame, but either way, this Talonflame should be able to get off that Tailwind if it wants to start setting up for the rest of the team, especially in front of any sort of trick from shenanigans that Izhaq is definitely lacking on their team. Yeah,
it seems to be that case exactly. Tailwind now set up will allow this Dragonite to be able to move first. No Follow Me from the Mousehold. Just going to be targeting that Bloodmoon Ursaluna, and you can see this Pokemon is so bulky, especially when it comes to the Assault Vest variants that have a bit more of training invested in order to be able to take on some very powerful moves. And naturally speaking, Dragonite's defense will be dropping, but we still have yet to see Izhaq's Pokemon move. Super Fang targeting the Dragonite, bypassing the multi-scale, hoping that it's going to be put within range, but actually not quite enough to be able to pick up the KO with that Hyper Voice.
Yeah, not quite enough yet. You imagine if a Super Fang plus a Blood Moon might have then obviously gotten that KO on the Dragonite, but we can see that Izhaq is just playing the resource game at the moment. You don't need to throw everything at the wall right now because that Dragonite could have really punished that play with a Protect here. So getting just general damage on the board, which makes a lot of sense, especially when neither of these Pokemon are actually targeting or threatening that one-hit KO.
Yeah, as the redirection will be coming out, Izhaq wanting to make sure the Ursaluna does get another powerful move off, most likely going to be the Hyper Voice. At this range, will surely pick up the KO on both Magnus's Pokemon, but for now, that does mean this 4th hit of the Scale Shot will not, of course, be enough to pick up the Mousehold, and Izhaq's going to have to try to rely on this Blood Moon, of course, taking up the double KO at this point, because Mousehold has completed its sort of purpose and role when it comes to this game 1. the fact that Tailwind has already been essentially burnt in terms of 2 turns worth of its use is so big because it allows Izhaq a bit more room to be able to sort of either stall out or allow for a Pokemon in the back to be able to try to sweep a potential double of this inclusion from Magnus' side.
And a massive double KO there for Izhaq, just going for the 2 raw Hyper Voices. A very nice play there to kind of start clearing the board. Izhaq now has the opportunity to still switch around given their 3 Pokemon, whereas Magnus is down to their last 2. And that Rillaboom is maybe something that Magnus didn't really want to see in front of that Ursaluna, but at least he's got that trusty Sneasler as well. And this Sneasler does have that Dire Claw as well, so it can very much threaten both the Rillaboom and this Ursaluna with a lot of damage. Now, of course, Terra is still on the board for both of these trainers too, so Izhaq can easily respond. It's that Terra Water on the Ursaluna, so he can get around that close combat weakness, but it's still either way weak to this Grass typing. So Izhaq might need to go on the defensive here if this Ursaluna is going to come out of this turn alive.
Yeah, and it's such a great Pokemon to be able to bring back this Rillaboom in order to be able to forego any sort of a psychic option in the back if Magnus did, of course, bring that male Indeedee, but just going to be a defensive protect of the Sneasler as well as the Ursaluna. Great way to be able to at least burn that fake out turn, but also force Izhaq to go for that defensive terrestrialization already on the Ursaluna. So there's not going to be any sort of mind games when it comes to whether it's going to be a normal type to be taking the super effective fighting type of that slot. But also, this may even open up the door for any sort of Dire Claw shenanigans.
Yeah, it definitely does. You said the word there, Costa. But now we're going into the final turn of Tailwind for Magnus's end here. So Ursaluna has one more chance here to kind of get a lot of damage out on the board before it's probably maybe the slowest thing on the field here. Of course, we still don't know what Izhaq has at the back here, but Magnus is very much now in the driver's seat here. Okay. Can a close combat come out here? You might need a double X KO that Ursaluna, but let's find out.
Yeah, going for maximum damage with the Terra Normal. This is, of course, Life Orb boosted. On top of it, we've got various multipliers stacking up at this point. Grassy Glide will not be dealing as much damage due to the foregoment of the ground typing, but Vacuum Wave not quite enough to be able to pick up with the double over the KO, and the Dire Claw not enough either. The Rillaboom's able to survive, but the Bloodmoon, of course, at this range of the HP is able to pick up the KO. You can see Magnus celebrating with that slot, forcing Izhaq now down to their final 2 Pokemon, whilst, of course, Tailwind will be petering out at the end of this turn.
Yeah, it definitely will be, but it's definitely been worth it for that last turn there. Really great call there to just Blood Moon straight away. Izhaq couldn't really go on the defensive much there, right? You don't have Protect on the Ursaluna because it's Assault Vest, and this, even though the Rillaboom doesn't actually have Protect as well, because it's not the Assault Vest, it still isn't doing a lot of damage into that Ursaluna either. But Golden Go is the last one here. Now, this Sneasler on Magnus' end has Throat Chop, so it can actually still do a lot of damage into it, other than the other Sneaslers that are around that we've seen with Close Combat and Acrobatics and Dire Claw.
Right.
So it's still a really nice position for Magnus here, even without like the Psychic Seed boost that Indeedee is usually here to provide. So Magnus has positioned this really nicely.
Yeah, and that Ursaluna is actually directly threatened right now due to the speed tiering of the Golden Go and the Rillaboom most likely being able to outspeed it. And we see the focus of the Grassy Glide into the Ursaluna. Dire Claw, however, will be able to finally pick off that Rillaboom, leaving the Golden Go on its own. Is it able to actually dispatch of this Sneasler to be able to allow itself more room to then dispatch of the Blood Moon? We're going to have to find out as the Make It Rain will be launched out, and Sneasler does survive on 26 hit points. And because of this, we're going to have to see the interaction of the drop of the special attack on the Golden Go to -1.
Yeah, and that's a really key thing there. If we'd seen maybe something like the Nasty Plot here, we might have been looking at something a little bit different, because obviously the Terra has been spent on this Ursaluna and not on the Sneasler with the Terra Dark. So Throat Chop is likely not enough for a one-hit KO.
Oh, no, it's not, but it does guarantee the 2-shot. The question is, will the Make It Rain finish up the job? And it does. Izhaq already 1 game up. That means, of course, they will be 1 game away from being crowned the Latin America International Champion. All of the pressure is now on Magnus's court. How are they going to be able to adapt against this sort of great strategy that Izhaq was able to implement there when it comes to being able to take a lot of damage with that Blood Moon Ursaluna via the Assault Vest variant, pick up the quick KOs that it can, even though the Tailwind was set up from Magnus's side, but then dish it back out. Have that Golden Go as sort of like a trump card in the back.
Yeah, we saw how that Rillaboom was really key there in dealing out so much damage in that endgame, getting that really critical amount of Grassy Glide damage, thanks to that key Miracle Seed that Izhaq's been running on their team, which was a really nice call there too. And unfortunately, yeah, Magnus couldn't quite deal enough damage right towards the end there. Even though calling the Protect with the Ursaluna from the Rillaboom attack, it just wasn't quite enough versus just the raw power of the Golden Go.
Yeah, and that's sort of what you need to be able to essentially monitor in terms of the board states, because we didn't see Magnus opt in for the Psychic sort of spam mode of their team, most likely anticipating the Rillaboom on the other side of the field. So, David, do we feel like there could be a required change-up from Magnus' side, either leading with it or having it in the back and trying to lure that Rillaboom out a bit earlier?
Yeah, possibly. And honestly, the Talonflame, I don't know if the Tailwind was super impactful there either. You already had the speed control from your own Dragonite Scale Shot, and there was so much priority in Izhaq's end here. So I wonder if we might see a switch up there. But there's a Murkrow Costa!
Oh, there it is. And another switch up from Magnus' side, now leading with that Amoonguss alongside the Blood Moon Ursaluna straight from the get-go. And the fact that Murkrow is on the field means that there's now the option for Izhaq to go for that immediate speed control.
Yeah, the Tailwind is on the other foot at the moment now because there's no Talonflame to speak of on Magnus' end either. So, the slower sort of momentum is definitely in Magnus' side here, because Amoonguss doesn't often require that speed control. It requires so much bulk to be able to do what it does, and it definitely has that. Rage Powder, Spore is really impactful here, and this Murkrow does not have Taunt either. So of course, Golden Go with as good as Gold is not going to be impacted by a Spore, but the Murkrow certainly is. And Murkrow is not the most offensive, so if it goes asleep and then stays on the field, it's kind of like having just a kind of useless slot as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that sort of play here coming out from Izhaq.
Yeah, and we're actually seeing the terrestrialization committed for the water typing on the Golden Go. It will allow it essentially to be able to forego a super effective Earth Power in that slot. But Magnus, on the other end, going for the offensive Terra Normal yet again, hoping to even actually catch Izhaq's defensive play out there and just go for the damage. Tailwind set up from Izhaq's side. This will mean, of course, the Golden Go moves first, goes for a Make It Rain, deals a lot of damage, especially on the Blood Moon Ursaluna, but because it's been able to survive and the Amoonguss hasn't been able to move, this may be a double up here. We're going to see if the read comes out. Magnus goes for it, goes for the Blood Moon, picks up the KO straight from the go. Amoonguss will be able to then connect with a Spore onto the Murkrow. So much momentum. This is exactly what Magnus wanted from this change-up going into Game 2.
An amazing call there from Magnus, going straight for what would have been a resisted hit, straight away getting that KO on that Golden Go, which was such a thorn in Magnus' side in that previous game here. And yeah, there's that Murkrow asleep there. Probably would have been preferred to even got KO'd here, because now Izhaq actually has to pivot it out or wait for it to wake up. So it kind of makes this a 2 versus 1 situation going into the following turns here. So really great switch up bringing this Amoonguss in here for Magnus. And now we've got the responding Ursaluna instead here. Now, of course, this is that Assault Vest, so it can take on these attacks a lot better. Specifically because the Ursaluna has already gone for Blood Moon, so can't go for it on a second attempt either.
Yeah.
But we've got the Hyper Voice on Ursaluna's side, so that can get around any Rage Powder, but it does leave that then open for the Amoonguss to Spore it instead. So Izhaq's going to make the decision. Do I Hyper Voice to KO the Ursaluna, or do I maybe go for the Blood Moon to get rid of the Amoonguss so I don't go to sleep?
Yeah, it seems like at least when it comes to the Blood Moon, Magnus is trying to avoid that Hyper Voice just in case, to be able to ensure that you can essentially dispatch as much damage as you can onto the opposing Ursaluna. But the Blood Moon is enough. Izhaq correctly identifying the Amoonguss being such a key component there, ignoring the counterpart Blood Moon on the other side of the field. But this does allow Magnus an opportunity to be able to bring in either the Sneasler and now the revealed Dragonite, which seems to be the case. And the Murkrow is still yet to be able to wake up.
Yeah, unfortunately it is. It's taken that mandatory turn sleep. It could possibly wake up next turn, though. We've got 2 more turns of Tailwind as well. Now, of course, this Ursa King cannot quite go for the Blood Moon yet again, but Hyper Voice is still pretty safe at the moment to be able to dispatch the Ursaluna. And even so, maybe even a Vacuum Wave could actually be enough as well to kind of get around any other shenanigans too.
Right.
But Blood Moon is back on the table for Magnus' Ursaluna, so Izhaq definitely has to respect it.
Yeah, and that seems to be the case, at least when it comes to the switch out of that Magnus, identifying the Vacuum Wave potential potential, but the Murkrow does remain asleep. Seems like it was trying to be able to go for the foul play in that scenario. Hyper Voice does get launched out. So Izhaq respecting the switch out potential, just wanting to guarantee any sort of good damage or even a KO onto the Blood Moon on Magnus' side, but also more crucially, breaking the multi-scale on the Dragonite.
Yeah, a really big one there. We saw how Hyper Voice was so useful for Izhaq in that first game there, just to be able to dispatch of 2 Pokemon all at once here, and we can see Sneasler taking so much damage on the switch in here. It's really wanting that Psychic Seed boost right now to be able to take those hits a little bit better here. Now, the question is, this Ursaluna is in Tailwind, but some Ursaluna aren't trained quite to be fast enough than a Sneasler as well. But it looks like Magnus is not going to be able to reveal that information just quite for us yet.
Yeah, not wanting to risk it either, as the Vacuum Wave actually trying to target down that Sneasler, only being met by the Protect, but the Murkrow, it has woken up. Oh, I was thinking there's a good case that it could have tried to target the Dragonite, especially with the defense drop and the multi-scale already broken, but it seems to be a double up into the Sneasler as the Scale Shot will now try to target down the Blood Moon. And at this range, unless it's a critical hit, it's not going to be enough to pick up a KO even with the 5th hit. Maybe marginal at this point, but most crucially, it's now within range of getting KO'd, but at least for Izhaq's side, not only has the Murkrow woken up, the Tailwind has now expired.
Yeah, it has, and now Magnus is in a really strong position here. But of course, the Murkrow is still awake, and it is on the field. So even though Magnus has kind of been avoiding it, making sure it's not really been doing much, it can get up another Tailwind now. But now, another question now is, now we've got a Scale Shot speed boost on the Dragonite. That still may be enough then to outspeed this Ursaluna, even when Tailwind comes up.
Yeah, and it seems like Izhaq does respect that, trying to at least deal any sort of damage onto the Sneasler, maybe put it within a range there. Stomping Tantrum will guarantee Magnus picking off that very crucial piece to Izhaq's strategy. Diet Claw going into the Murkrow. Are we going to see any sort of shenanigans? We do. It's the paralysis status. This means that not only is the speed half, there is a chance for the full paralysis. Not what Izhaq wants to see, but Magnus definitely needs this momentum in their favor, especially as that Rillaboom now revealed to be the final 4th Pokemon on Izhaq's side versus Magnus's 3.
Wow, that's big, yeah. So that Rillaboom coming in there, it only has grass moves here. It doesn't have that high horsepower, so it can't even hit the Sneasler for a good damage either. Maybe a Woodhammer would still KO if it's given the chance, but yeah, Murkrow with the paralysis here, it's going to be that main way that you're going to be able to do damage into the Dragonite, which at the moment quadruply resists those grass attacks. So Izhaq needs to find a way to get that foul play over there. And it could happen, because we know we've got that Tailwind. Scale Shot has a chance to miss as well, and there is a chance that Murkrow could still be faster if given enough kind of changes as well, but it looks like Dragonite's going on defensive.
Yeah, Magnus absolutely respecting the fake out potential there, opting to go for the double protect. There's no real reason why you shouldn't go for this, as you're always going to be able to at least guarantee Dragonite outspeeding due to the 2 Scale Shots setup of the +2 speed, even against the Tailwind mode of Izhaq, especially due to the training of these Pokemon. There is a small chance that the Rillaboom may be trained to be extremely quick and rapid, but most likely not the case.
Yeah, most likely not the case. So yeah, kind of stalling out a few more turns there, and we can see the Sneasler now locking into that Dire Claw, which we saw was a really close KO onto that Rillaboom there. But yeah, Dragonite looking really safe. You need to play this really slowly here if you're Magnus, not throwing too much at the wind here, not too much caution. And obviously, if you Scale Shot too many times, you could really lower your defense to maybe put yourself in range of a KO.
Yeah, and of course, the Protect from the Rillaboom, as we know, it's a Miracle Seed variant and not the Assault Vest, but the Scale Shot targets the Murkrow. It wants to make sure this cheeky little pranksterous bird does not get any sort of foul plays off, which could be quite detrimental to the Dragonite. And there's a 5th hit there, guarantee KO onto the Murkrow. This Rillaboom left on its lonesome self here, not even with the Sneasler moving as of yet. And this is looking like a rampant comeback from Magnus's side. No way, no shot this Rillaboom can bring it back.
Yeah, unfortunately not. And there's no Terra on the board either. We saw the Golem go for that Terra really early on too. So yeah, it's looking mostly over here, and we're going into a game 3 at this point. But yeah, we just need to see that Sneasler kind of click into that Dire Claw and get enough damage through. But we see maybe Magnus playing it extra super cautious to sort out that grassy terrain. But yeah, no, there is that game going to Magnus, and we're going into a game 3, folks.
I am so incredibly hyped. We've got the game 3. Both of our trainers are going toe-to-toe. They are, at the moment, the very best in the global state of affairs leaderboards. We've got multiple regional championships from each of these trainers. Hello, everybody. Let's make some noise for our 2 juniors going into this game 3. Give them all the love and support. They have put in so much time, so much love, so much effort, and here they are on the final stage. One of them will be crowned the Latin American International Champion of 2026. Very, very shortly, one game separates that title from either of these 2 young trainers.
Yeah, both trainers have been able to top cut previous international championships, but have not yet gotten that win. Izhaq has gotten a 2nd place even at NAIC, and so has already matched that here, but obviously still really wants that win versus these 2 trainers who have been fighting out across the years between each other, so many battles, and it's all coming to a head now in this final.
Here we go. Turn 1, game 3. We've got the game 1 lead from Magnus, at least with that Talonflame coming out versus Izhaq's own Tailwind Moan, yet again being prevailed here with the Golden Go to be able to position them as speed control being so crucial from either side.
Yeah, so we had Tailwind from Magnus on game 1, we had Tailwind from Izhaq on game 2, and now we have Tailwind a piece on both sides here. But interestingly, it was the Tailwind user who then lost the game. So
right,
actually,
exactly.
But now we've got both here on the screen. So Izhaq obviously quite confident with their lead here, putting all the eggs into the Golden Go basket and just making sure you get loads of damage on the board turn 1, so you can really start chipping things away from whatever you've got in the back.
Yeah, and this Dragonite Terra Steel means it's going to be able to resist any sort of Maker Rains that do come out from that slot, especially accompanied by that multi-scale that is still intact. Tailwind from one, let's say, priority user. Tailwind from another following suit immediately after the Maker Rain will break the Gale Wings and the multi-scale, but Magnus is in a spot where they're going to be able to directly not only threaten damage via this scale shot that does connect onto the Golden Go, but also get the speed advantage. You're now going to be at the cost of -1 defense, +1 speed. And any sort of chip damage onto a Golden Go, that is also the life of variant and takes its own recoil at the end of each attack, is so crucial.
Yeah, I really like this play from Magnus here. It seems like it was a bit of a misplay to scale shot into that Golden Go, but actually you kind of need that double up here. Golden Go is most likely bulky enough to maybe take a Flare Blitz from Talonflame, so you need some other attack to target into it. So just in case it terrors to kind of get around that Flare Blitz weakness, you're then getting maximum damage with that scale shot here. So either way now, Flare Blitz is still going to be enough combined with another attack from Dragonite.
Ooh, and now the target seems to be the Murkrow. It does connect. It's going to go for that 3rd hit right now. Obviously, if you're Magnus, you're hoping for all of 5 hits in order to be able to guarantee a KO in the following turn. With just 4 hits, seems to be the case this time round. At the cost of now -2 defense, +2 speed. Talonflame moves immediately after, trying to read a terrestrialization from Magnus' side that Izhaq does not fall for. Goes for the Maker Rain, yet again a -1 special attack, not enough to pick up the K onto the Talonflame, but a double up may be able to do so, especially from this foul play. It targets the Dragonite, and it's enough to pick up the KO. Already such a valuable piece from Magnus' side out of game 3 and this set.
Yeah, that was a really big piece gone there because Magnus was using that Dragonite so well versus the end game of Izhaq in game 2 there versus that Rillaboom right to the end. And also that Ursaluna too, when it was able to take off those attacks that it's just with its just natural bulk, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, this time here, even though that Golden Go is only kind of a -2 special attack, not offering a lot, it's most likely was quite crucial in getting that Dragonite in range of that foul play that Murkrow was crisply able to get out here. Now, of course, we've still got a couple of turns of Tailwind left on both sides, and Talonflame is making the most of it.
Yes, it is. It finally picks off the Golden Go at that range. Even if there was going to be a terrestrialization commit, it's just always going to get KO'd, especially because it's a 120 base power fire type move. That is same type attack bonus, and we have the double KO from Magnus' side, clearly showing the virtue of these faster, speeded sort of Pokemon, even when Tailwind conditions are prevailed from both sides. However, we've got the double free switch in from Izhaq's side. It's going to be the Rillaboom, and it's going to be that trusty Ursa King Assault Vest, and it is ready to go on the offensive.
Yeah, it definitely is here. Now, this Talonflame is kind of in range of a Fake Out or a Grassy Glide, possibly at this point too, and doesn't have Protect.
Yeah, maybe even a Vacuum Wave as well.
Yeah, that's really true, Costa. Yeah, there's a lot of priority on that side there. I mean, Sneasler might want to kind of slow things down a little bit with the Protected, get around that fake out, but yeah, Talonflame might just go down here.
Yeah, as it seems like just wanting to ensure your board state does prevail. Fake out, going into the Sneasler, and of course, because of the Covert Cloak, the Talonflame always will move. At least try to, if it weren't for the Vacuum Wave KO. Really going to show the dividends as to why having a priority moves such as Vacuum Wave on an Assault Vest variant set is so key towards these sort of mid to end game scenarios. Now, Magnus does bring their own Blood Moon, and this does change things.
Yeah, it definitely does here. We don't think we've actually seen the interaction, though, between the two speeds of the Ursalunas, because one player's got enough tailwind in every sort of situation, but now we've got an equal amount of tailwind turns, and so we might actually finally reveal who is faster as well. And we've also not seen a Terror from Izhaq's end either, so we might see that kind of defensive Terror from the Ursaluna come out into that water type to kind of avoid the super effective damage from the Sneasler here, but of course Magnus has already spent it on that Dragonite on turn 1, remember, so it really can't get around the grass type weakness from this Rillaboom, which is incredibly powerful. And of course another thing we might even see is the Terror Grass from the Rillaboom,
yep.
if we really want to pack a punch with those Grassy Glides.
Yeah, no terrestrialization commit from Izhaq's side. This could be quite crucial. Grassy Glide does try to target down the Blood Moon Ursaluna. You can see Magnus's anticipation. What will be the case of the Vacuum Wave? The double up into the Blood Moon. This allows the Sneasler so much room to take advantage of this damage going into the Rillaboom. Not enough to pick up a KO, but the sleep has come out. This will guarantee the Rillaboom cannot move in this turn, and Ursaluna is on its lonesome self right now.
Yeah, it's really not looking good now. Again, this Ursaluna is Assault Vest. It can't protect. So from Magnus's point of view, it's such a safe slot to target into. Rillaboom, as you said, Costa, cannot wake up either. So Magnus also has the Blood Moon move online as well. Free to click into now. And even with a defensive Terror from Izhaq's end into that Terror Water, I don't know if it's enough.
We're gonna have to find out, and guess what? The time is nigh. Terror Water, Blood Moon. Will you be able to get yourself out of this situation? How much bulk is there to allow you to survive close combat halfway through the Blood Moon's HP? Which Blood Moon will move next? It's going to be the Hyper Voice. The Rillaboom goes down. The Blood Moon over on Izhaq's side does survive, but at this point, does it have enough resource to allow Izhaq to be crowned the Latin America International Champion? Doesn't seem to be the case. We've got, even though the Blood Moon has been KO'd, Sneasler will be able to outspeed.
There's no chance now for this Ursaluna to be able to outspeed this quick little Sneasler here. It's just going to be one more attack that is needed to KO this Ursaluna. And there it is. Magnus Andreasen has done it, has defeated Izhaq Hoggui at